Thunder roared across the night sky, shattering the silence. Flames burst forth, scorching the ground and the heavens alike as Shango, god of thunder, squared off against Ogun, god of war and iron. The earth trembled under their fury, and mortals below cowered in fear as the wrath of gods broke upon their world. In the midst of the destruction, a young girl, with eyes burning with hidden knowledge, looked on with a quiet certainty. She had seen the end, and knew only she held the power to stop it. The celestial court was a place untouched by time. Yet every being within it felt the weight of eternity in the air. Shadows and lights danced together as if they are in a silent and uneasy agreement. The gods were gathered. A circle of ancient powers, each radiating the essence of their domain. At the center of it all stood Orunmila, the god of wisdom and faith. He was tall and slender, with a serene expression that held the knowledge of all things past and future. His robes were a deep blue, embroidered with silver stars that seemed to twinkle as he moved, as if the night sky itself had woven his garments. Orunmila raised a hand, and silence fell upon the court. "Brothers, sisters, our world is changing," he began. His voice calm, but filled with a warning. Mortals no longer seek only survival. They hunger for power, for dominion over all. Even the elements of nature that we govern. A low rumble shook the hall. Shango, the god of thunder and justice, shifted in his seat. His fiery red robes, billowing like storm clouds. His skin was the color of bronze, and his eyes sparkled with an inner lightning, barely contained. "And who are we to deny them?" Shango's voice boomed. "Justice demands strength. They strive to be strong. I see no harm in that." Ogun, god of war and iron, nodded in agreement. He was a fierce, solid figure with a muscular build, dark-skinned marked with scars from countless battles. Iron rings adorned his wrists, and he held his spear close, as if he expected a fight at any moment. Strength must be respected. If humans grow stronger, perhaps they deserve it. A whisper of dissent rose from Yoruba, goddess of water and motherhood. Her skin was as smooth and dark as river stones, and her flowing blue robes rippled as if made of liquid. "But what of peace?" she argued softly, her voice like a stream over storms. "Our purpose is to protect balance, not to let strength spiral out of control. If we do not act wisely, we risk losing the world itself to chaos." The argument flared, each god rising to defend their view. Osun, the trickster and messenger, leaned back with a sly smile, enjoying the tension. His face painted with a mask of contrast. "Perhaps a bit of chaos is good," he laughed. "It makes things interesting." But Orunmila, with a calmness that commanded respect, held up his hand once more. "If we fall into war, there will be no winner. Only ruin." His gaze shifted to Shango and Ogun, whose eyes glinted with defiance. "I beg you. Think of what will happen to the earth and those who dwell upon it." But the seeds of division has already been sown. Shango rose up, a blaze of anger radiating from him. "I will not stand by while you preach restraint. The humans must learn justice and strength, even if it means war." With that, he stormed out of the court, Ogun at his side, the ground trembling under their feet. Yoruba looked at Orunmila with sadness, understanding the struggle that lay ahead. She stood and followed the god of wisdom out of the court, leaving the celestial hall, silent, with only the faint echo of thunder in the distance. The clouds rolled dark and thick over the mortal realm, casting a shadow that sent a chill through the villages below. People looked up, murmuring in fear, sensing something was amiss, though they could not see the mighty gods who hovered beyond the sky. The rift in the celestial court had grown into a true schism. Shango and Ogun, both symbols of strength and justice in different forms, had taken their leave with clear intentions. They would reshape humanity in their image. Those who sought to control the earth would face the gods' wrath, and only the strongest would survive. For Shango, it was about justice through power. For Ogun, it was about proving strength through war. In their wake, smaller gods of storms, iron, and fire gathered, rallying behind them. It was a show of force unlike anything seen before. Like a storm ready to rain down judgment on mortals. As the gods' assembly dispersed, Yemoja moved quickly to her own council. She called to her side, Oya, goddess of winds and change, and Osun, goddess of love and fertility. Each goddess embodied an element of compassion and connection to humanity, a reminder of the gods' purpose to nurture life. They shared Yemoja's concerns about Shango's fiery ambition and Ogun's thirst for battle. Oya, her eyes wild as the wind she commanded, brushed a strand of silver hair from her face and said, if we allow Shango and Ogun to proceed, their path will be one of ruin. Our waters will dry up, our skies will burn, and the mortals will perish under their fury. Osun, dressed in golden garments that seemed to catch the light even in the dimness of the clouds, sighed deeply. But they are strong. Shango's thunder alone could rip mountains apart, and Ogun's iron is unbreakable. How do we stop them without igniting the very war we dread? Yemoja placed a reassuring hand on Osun's shoulder. We will not face them alone. Orunmila has foreseen something, or rather, someone. Her eyes closed with quiet hope. A mortal seer, one who might hold the key to restoring balance. Meanwhile, on the mortal plane, Adisa, a young girl of about 17, walked barefoot along the dusty path leading to her village. Her eyes were dark and wide, filled with visions that haunted her since childhood. She wore a simple woven dress, frayed at the edges, and carried a bundle of herbs collected for her mother. Adisa was no ordinary girl. She had dreams that warned of dangers, visions of fires and storms that others couldn't see. Tonight, she felt something shifting, a pull that made her pause and look toward the mountains, where dark clouds gathered. She saw, as if in a trance, a figure shrouded in mist, a man dressed in robes that shimmered like the stars. His gaze was kind yet piercing, looking directly into her soul. Adisa, he spoke, though his lips didn't move. The gods are at war, and their anger will be felt by all. But you have the gift to stop it. Adisa blinked. But the vision vanished as quickly as it had come. Her heart pounded, her mind racing to make sense of what she'd seen. She was no warrior, no hero. She was a simple girl from a small village, yet deep down, she felt a calling she could not ignore. In the heavens, Orunmila watched her from afar, his face unreadable. He had chosen her, guided by the wisdom of ages, yet he knew her path would be fraught with danger. For Shango and Ogun, her role would be a threat. They would hunt her, even destroy her if it meant securing their dominion. But he also knew that the time for protection had passed. The gods would clash, and only those with courage, mortal or divine, could hope to withstand the storm. The night was thick with tension in Adisa's village. Whispers of strange omens filled the air, like rivers running dry. Sudden storms, and flocks of birds flying in chaotic patterns. The elders had gathered around the fire, speaking in low voices about the gods' anger and the fate that seemed to loom over them. Adisa, her mind still haunted by Orunmila's message, approached her grandmother, the village seer. The old woman sat with eyes closed, her silver hair reflecting the firelight, her skin lined with the marks of many years spent communing with the spirits. "Grandmother," Adisa whispered, kneeling beside her. "I had a vision, a god spoke to me." Her grandmother's eyes opened slowly, and her gaze settled on Adisa with a mix of awe and fear. "Tell me, child," she said, her voice heavy. "What did he say?" Adisa described the vision in detail, her voice trembling as she recalled Orunmila's words. Her grandmother listened intently, her expression turning grim. She placed a hand on Adisa's forehead, whispering a blessing to protect her. "You have been chosen, my child," her grandmother said. "But the path you walk is dangerous. The gods are not merciful, especially when they are divided. You must be careful." "But why me?" Adisa asked, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm no one special. I don't have power like the gods." The old woman shook her head. "It is not power that will end this war, but wisdom, courage, and sacrifice. Perhaps that is why the gods look to you." Before Adisa could reply, a distant rumble echoed across the village, Thunder crackled, and a flicker of lightning lit up the horizon. Her grandmother's face paled. "They are coming," she whispered. "Shango's storms and Ogun's war have begun."